Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Hey, today we're back on the RM in a box, and I've just finished making the rear axle. I've already shown one when I made the rear axle for the Yamaha that we're putting the Suzuki suspension on. So you can go back and look at that one, but we've got plenty yet to do. I need to make all the spacers, washers. I need to make the swing arm bolt and all the spacers there. So there's plenty yet to do. Probably not going to get it all done in one video. There's just a lot to do, a lot to see. A lot of stuff I want to show you, and I just thought, well, I'll go ahead and knock this one axle out because it is kind of time consuming, and you'll see it on the swing arm bolt too, and you can go back and watch the one on the Yamaha if you're interested. But anyhow, there's just a lot of stuff that I don't have, I can't find. If I find it, it's worthless. If I find it and it's new, it's too expensive. So we're making do. We've got a lathe, we've got a mill, so we're gonna make our own stuff, save some money. Actually, you know, we're saving money, but you know, originally I had to spend money for that equipment, but it's paid me back over and over and over the years, and it'll continue to do so. So let me get you over here to the bench, and I'll show you what we've got yet to make, and we'll get started on some of it. Okay guys, here's the axle I just made, and it's got this step down here. Now, you know, the last time I made the axle for the 250, I had some people saying, well, you said it was 16 millimeter, or you said it was 17 millimeter, or whatever. And you know, the important thing is I made the axle and it fit and it worked. Sometimes I missay some, you know, I'm trying to keep my metric and my imperial separate. Most of the time it's straight in my mind, but it doesn't come out all the time that way. And you know, this one guy says, well, man, they don't make bearings in that size and all that. You know, I don't care. It's the end result that matters, and the end result was that in this case that I get the axle right. Goes in here just like this, and we've got our nut that goes on, and this Suzuki uses these 6203 bearings, and they fit snugly. So that's, you know, just because it doesn't always come out right, I'd say don't try to build something based on my figures. You know, do your own homework, make sure you've got the right measurements and so on. If you need a size of like the axle or something like that, then ask me, I'll measure it, I'll give you the exact one. But you know, it's things like that, it just kind of takes the fun out of everything. All right, enough said about that. Okay, I took this out of the book online there, and all this, I'm missing, well, not all this stuff, but I'm missing all the spacers. Here is an axle that I got for a RM250. That's what it was advertised as, and I'm sure that it is. It's probably not for a C2. So that was my problem. You can tell the difference here. This one here only had the 62, what is that? 6203 bearing size, which is 17 millimeter. It only had it right there, and this one needs it all the way across, except where it goes through the last, this right here. This is actually smaller on this one, and it, even where it goes through with the flats right here, the size of the hole that's in the swing arm is smaller than the other side. So I had to trim down this to fit the other bushing there in the swing arm, which is essentially 15 millimeter. Okay, but that's the difference, and it was a little bit shorter too, and I needed just a little more length there to get a castellated nut on. Now, another thing that some people brought up during the last one was the fact that I didn't harden the axle. Okay, here's a Suzuki axle. This is for an RM. It's been beat up, but you can take a file and you can file it. So it's not hardened. Here's a swing arm for the same Suzuki. Take your file, it goes right into it. Not hardened. Here's the spacer that goes in on the swing arm. Not hardened. Now these two pieces here that go out here that actually the bearings ride in, a little different story. I can mark it, but I can't file it. It's hard. These have been actually hardened because they're the inside race of the bearing. And I had somebody point that out to me too, and that's okay, I get that. They were on the Yamaha. I made a full-size bushing, made all the way across like that, and I didn't harden it. So they were saying I was going to have problems and everything, and I said, you know, I'm 70 years old. I'm not out there pounding the motocross tracks every weekend, and matter of fact, I'm not out there pounding motocross tracks at all. I think it'll outlive me the way that I built it. So I'm just not concerned about it. I'll probably go ahead and do this two-piece affair, and I'll do it just so you can see how to harden these pieces. We'll put them in the oven, we'll harden them, and anneal them off at the end just like you normally do. So it's more about the process than, hey, you're gonna wear that out on the first motocross race. Okay. So anyhow, that's where we're at, and I built this one. I built the one for the Yamaha, and it was very similar. I don't think it had the step on it, but you know, we've got the hole in it here for your screwdriver. We've got the holes in it for the cotter pin down here, and it's not hardened. I use both of the axles that I've made. I use 1045, which is high carbon regular steel. But it has more carbon content than 1018, which is your normal cold roll or hot roll or whatever. If I wanted to harden it, I could do so because it has the high carbon content. But as you can see, Suzuki didn't harden theirs, so I'm not going to harden mine. It's just a step that I don't need to do. I'll go through it on this just to show it. Okay, so about the only thing that is available from Suzuki is this one nut at $3.76. Everything else that I've that I've given the part number for is not available from Suzuki. You can get it on eBay, some of them, not all of it, some of it, but it's at a, you know, it's at a premium price. You know, they got it, you want it, and that's the way it works. So I'm not wanting it, and I'm going to make it, all right? So let's get started on this. Okay, before we get started on that, let's go ahead and assemble the swing arm. I just cleaned the inside of these with acetone. Everything's nice and clean. I'm going to go ahead and put the bearings in, and then we'll work on getting things lined up for the spacers. These bearings are, you've got your numbers out here on the outside and nothing in here. So you want the bearings with the numbers towards the outside. And you can drive these in. I've got a little puller here that I've made, and this side I've got a little lip on it there so that it will center on this side, and over here I can go ahead and I want to put a little bit of Loctite. And you know, normally you have to, actually I'm going to put that in right here before I run them in. Normally you have to heat these up to get them out anyway. That's the best way to do it. So I'm not worried about a little Loctite. We'll just give it a good, you know, to make sure everything stays put. This is green, so it's not going to be a permanent thing. If you need to get it out, you just heat it up. Okay, so I've got these kind of started there, and now I'll go ahead and get this through here and centered on the back side. And this side I've got a little recess made on it so it'll go over the bearing. Actually, in this case we probably need it the other way. I'll just use this one here so that it goes flat. Some of them are a little different than others. And we'll get our nut on there. You can drive these in easy enough. This is just a little more control. Just makes it go in easier. You can do it in a press or you can do it with a hammer. I'm gonna get my back up on the other side just to get that last little push. All right, there, that one's in. And they're just flush with the end on these. Okay, so let me get around the other side and get that one done. And then just repeat. These always, especially since they're been in there for 50 years, the old ones really come out hard. It's a must that you use heat with them. Okay, that's it. Simple enough. All I did on this, you know, I made my pucks on the lathe, but it's easy enough just to get some all thread from the hardware store and use a couple big thick washers. Do the same thing. All right. Now I was able to get the new seals and thrust washers from Suzuki. They still have them. You'll need to apply some grease in here, both on the seal lip and in here, and then on both sides of the washer that fits in there, and then this goes over the edge here. So I'm not going to put them on yet because I've still got to work out here. I'm not ready to put this together yet, so they would probably fall off anyway. So I'm just going to put them back in the sack here and keep those clean for now. Yeah, the old ones, this is that's the worst one. And it took heat to get these out. There was a lot of water, a lot of rust. You can see the rust in there. And this one had come pretty much apart. But they actually come out pretty easy if you use heat. If you heat this area up really good here, and then just drive them out from the other side. And there's our install. You can get longer bushings if you can find them, or not bushings, but the bearings. These are 20 millimeter wide. Some are available in 30, I believe. But these are the ones that came in it. These are what they had in from the factory. So that's what I'm putting back in. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we need to try to get this as centered as we can. You know, it's just kind of a by sight thing. You know, you just want it the same on both sides here. And when doing that, we've got to make this spacer that's right here and this one that's right here. And, you know, I don't really know what those look like, but in essence, all we've got to do is fill up the space. And we'll make them to fit, in this case, inside this. And on this side here, I think they had like a probably a flange out here that would cover, you know, probably cover up where this bearing is. And then of course we just need to come from the bearing over. So let me show you how I'm going to measure that. Okay, it's kind of hard to get in there and try to get a measurement, so I'm just going to use a snap gauge. I'm going to go in here and try to get this on this spacer right here, and then up against the bearing race on the other side, and we lock that down, and that's our measurement. So I can go ahead and measure that, and I've got 0.874. So that's our length on this side. Let me get a pen here and make a note of that. 0.874. All right. Now let's go around the other side. Okay, without moving anything, we're going to try to get back in there up against the bearing, and then release it and try to keep it straight, square with it, and tighten it up. I think I moved a little bit. Okay, so that's what we've done. And let's see what we've got on this one. Looks like about 0.973. Yeah, 0.973. And of course we know it's got to be the size of the axle, which is 0.688, just a little over that. And then we can make it the size of the bushing that goes through here. So we're at about 1.099 or something like that. I think we can just round that off to 1.100. And the other side is just a little bit bigger at 0.1185. It's just a bigger one on either side. The right side is a little bit bigger than the left side. So other than that, that's pretty much all we need. I'll probably just make these like a couple thousandths over because they'll be long enough that I can trim them to make sure that they fit right. You know, you don't want a bunch of squeeze where you're going to be squeezing the arms together. So you want them pretty close to what you measure. So I'll probably make them 2 or 3 thousandths longer, and they're long enough I can put them back in the lathe and trim them down a bit if I need to. Okay, I've kind of got my materials set out here. I probably would be better off with some 7/8 stuff, but this is all I've got is inch. This is tool steel 01. So this is what we'll be making these out of so we can harden them. And you've got to have a little extra to hold it and to crank it with the dog on one side. So those will be made from that. I've got this interior spacer. We could just use this, but I'll probably keep these pieces around in case I've got another one I've got to make somewhere down the road. This is pretty close. We just need to take a little bit off the outside. You probably don't even need to do that, but we'll try to make it the same diameter. And you know, that will do that piece for us. And here's our axle, 1045. And this, I think what we'll do is we'll thread it like this on both ends, so I don't have to use a big piece of this to make the hex. This way we'll just put a nut on both sides. I think that'll work just fine, and it'll save me a lot of work as far as starting with a piece of material this size and cutting the majority down and away. So I think I'll do it that way. Just put a nut on both ends, thread at both ends. And I've got a piece of 1.25 inch solid that we'll make the two spacers out of. 1.100 and 1.185. So we can get those back out of these, out of these 1.25 inch. So this will make that for us. So I think we've got all our raw materials together, and all we've got to do is just get started on it. We'll go ahead and drill our center hole. We've gone up to 0.668. Now I've actually got a drill bit that'll just about get her perfect, and that's 43/64. So that's what we'll be using. That puts us about 2 thousandths over, which would be good for our clearance for the axle going through. So I'll just start. We're gonna come up to that in increments. So we'll start with this one here. And we need about 2 inches for both those spacers. So that up to the tape line there should get us both pieces that we need. There's slightly difference in outside diameter, but of course the inside diameter is the same. And it's just the length that's really the big deal. Okay, I'm boring out the last little bit. Actually I told you wrong on the drill bit. I had to go to a 21/32, which was 12 thousandths short of our target of 0.668. So I'm using the boring bar now to take out that 12 thousandths. Actually, we're going to take out 14 because I want to have a couple thousandths in there, play. So the axle will slide through easy enough. This should give us 0.670. All right, start on the outside here now. We'll be going to 1.185 for the one side. Of course, we'll just go all the way for the first time here. I'm going to take 54 thousandths off the diameter here in order to get the larger of the two, and once we get that one cut, then we'll work on the smaller one. Okay, that should be our point. I'm going to stop this and move this in just a little bit. That's a little too much stick out. All right. Get my little rod in there, and I also need to take care of that chamfer on the corner there before I go all the way through. I guess there's room, but just kind of get in the habit of doing it. This is the right side, I believe. Yeah. There we go. And this should be our other side. I did cut them a few thousandths longer so I can kind of tune them in just to make sure we're not putting stress on that swing arm. We want them just to take the space up and not too much and not too little. Okay, this one here was supposed to be 0.975, and we're a half thou over according to Mr. Starrett, and This one was supposed to be 875. And we're a thou under, 874. So let's go see if it fits. Okay, the thicker one was supposed to go over here. The hole in the middle seems to be good. Let's see if we can get this one in. There we go. All right. And there we go. So let's raise our swing arm up and see what it looks like. Looks pretty darn close to me. I think we're a winner chicken dinner. All right, let's start on our axle here. We're gonna need almost the whole thing. We just need a little extra down here to run our dog on. First thing I want to do is just trim off the ends, face them, and then we're going to put a dimple in each one. And then we'll put our dimple in each end. It's for our center. I know I said axle on this, but it's actually the swing arm bolt. This is kind of the best way I've found to do these long parts like this. Okay, then what I've been doing is I've got a center that I made myself that I can just put in the 3-jaw chuck, and the 3-jaw chucks aren't really known for their accuracy, but I go ahead and cut it each time myself just to make sure it's, every time you place it in here, it's going to be in a different place. This jaw or chuck is off about 2 to 3 thousandths most of the time, and this way we can get it and that's on. So we'll go ahead and let me get set up here, and we will turn this one. Turn them at about 60 degrees. And really only need to turn down just the very tip of it, enough to get in my centers. And when these are wore out, you just make another one. It's really good right there. I'm not going to need the whole thing. Just make sure you get it turned all the way around. And then we just go ahead and turn this back around. And I just take to kind of get this centered up again. Am I going to get there? Yep, I think I am. Kind of see how it's cocked here a little bit, so it's not quite straight. Okay, so that squares it up pretty good. Good enough most of the time. This end's not really going to turn, but I just go ahead and put a little high pressure grease on it anyway. And then I get my live center and tailstock. And this is my future bolt. And I'm going to put a dog on this end. Hopefully I've got enough there that I can work the whole piece. And that'll go up here and it'll just be driven by the chuck. Yeah, looks like we're good. Okay, I think we're all set up here. And we've got quite a ways to go. We need, this is a piece of 3/4, and we need to go down to 0.550. I think I've got a little bend in this thing, so I'm just going to skim it here and see if I'm right. Okay, we got this. Now we just trim down the ends a little bit so we can thread them. I'm just going to use a die on this. Just kind of keep a little pressure on that until we get it started. That should be good. Okay, there's one side. Okay, guys. Snug fit. Got nylocks for both sides, and I've a little longer than what I need. If it's too long, I can cut it off. It's snug. All right, guys. There we go. We got our new bolt. It's a little bit, I made it a little bit longer. I think it'll be okay. If not, I can cut it off. And that's about all I've got time for on this one. So the next time that we do a video on this bike, we'll probably do the bushings. We've got this here will be pretty easy. It's just I got to take a little bit off the outside. Probably don't even have to do that, and just cut it off to the proper length. And these things won't be too big either. I do have to cut the hole in the middle, and that's just for this. And the same on this one. This one we're using a tube, so we won't have to do that. So the majority of the next video will be heat treating these. We'll go ahead and cut them, and then heat treat the new ones. Okay guys, there you have it. We've got our new swing arm bolt made, and we've just got to finish up and make the two bushings and the spacer, and we'll be able to go ahead and mount the swing arm on the bike, and we can go ahead and probably get the forks on and the front wheel on. I think I've got everything for the front wheel, but I may not. So we may be making something there too, I don't know. But it appears anyhow that I've got the bolt and the spacers for it. I don't think they were quite as everything different like the C2 was on the back. So we'll be able to get the steering head bearings in, swing arm on, rear wheel on, and maybe even the front wheel on, and at least we'll have a roller. But all that stuff will basically have to come off again to rebuild the front forks and so on and so forth. So we've still got plenty to do to the RM in the box. As somebody elegantly said it, they want to see the RM out of the box. So that's our goal. So hey, I want to thank everybody for going along on the ride, and Happy New Year, and we'll see you next video.